Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we're going to be talking about something that I don't think anyone saw coming, and that is the fact that we have a fourth coaching change, this time in the Gamblers, having lost Kevin Sumlin and are hiring Curtis Johnson as their head coach. Now, just a quick FYI, this is not because of Sumlin stepping down or anything. Sumlin just got a job at the University of Maryland, as I believe he is going to be the associate head coach, co-OC, and tight ends coach over there. So he got a pretty decent job at Maryland. Basically, you can get the best job without being a head coach for a team. So, yeah. Now, we're going to be looking at the Fox Sports article before I give my thoughts on it. USFL has Curtis Johnson as Houston Gamblers head coach. Curtis Johnson has been hired as the new head coach of the Houston Gamblers, the USFL announced Wednesday. We're very excited for Coach Johnson to bring us 35 years of coaching experience, improving players at the professional and collegiate levels to the USFL family as the new Houston Gamblers head coach, said Daryl Johnston. The USFL's Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Coach Johnson has been on the USFL head coach radar, so when Coach Sumlin recently informed us he would be stepping down, I immediately called Curtis. We're thrilled to have the enthusiastically embraced the challenge to be the Gamblers head coach. Johnson, who is 61, spent 2 separate stints with the Saints as a wide receivers coach and a senior offensive assistant. In 2009, he was part of that team that won the Super Bowl. And he also was a receivers coach with the Chicago Bears, as well as for many universities, California, San Diego State, SMU, Idaho, and Miami, where at Miami he did help the Hurricanes win the national championship. Johnson's first head coach job was at Tulane from 2012 to 15. He takes over a Gamblers team that will be hosted in Memphis for the upcoming season. This is a tremendous opportunity to serve Houston, their fans, and our players. I want to make the city of Houston proud about our team and the USFL, Johnson said. As a former wide receivers coach, I'm going to bring a brand of football that is exciting and fast by airing it out, while also running the ball. On defense, the Gamblers will always be focused on being physical and creating turnovers. I'm excited to get to work building a winner for Houston football fans. So, the important things to note about Johnson is that, I just gotta put it out there, this is by far the weakest of the 4 hires. So, like I've said for each hire has either been a kind of lateral move like Fedora to DeFilippo, which I felt was a lateral move. It's not a huge upgrade, but it's about the same. But all the other 2 were definitely upgrades. Mike Nolan for Jeff Fisher, and then, of course, you had Ray Horton for Kirby Wilson. This one, however, I feel like is a noticeable downgrade. Curtis Johnson has only had 4 years as a head coach and experience. And at Tulane, he was overall a bad coach. He had a one decent season where they went 7-6 in 2013, but they barely made it to a bowl game, and they lost in that one bowl game. Outside of that, he never won more than 3 games in a season. So he wasn't really that great as a head coach at Tulane, as he had one decent year making a bowl game, which was a big deal for the program at the time. But going after that to have 2, 3, and 9 seasons is pretty terrible. Now, as a wide receivers coach, the most notable thing is that at Miami, he was the wide receivers coach for guys like Andre Johnson, Santana Moss, and Reggie Wayne. 3 very, very solid receivers that overall is pretty incredible that he did coach them all. Now, he did also help get Ed Reed there, so he had a big part in making that team a national title team. But overall, I think that this is the weakest head coach hire, and I think that Johnson now overtakes Ray Horton as the worst head coach in the league. So as I'm going to have to update that video again in the comments, I'm going to be putting Johnson at the worst head coach. Now, the only thing I will say that is decent about this is that he is a wide receivers guy, and he's been doing that for a long time. The best thing to know about why he's a solid receivers coach is that the Saints hired him back. Remember, he was part of the group that was led by Sean Payton, and then he eventually came back to the group. You don't get rehired by someone unless they truly value you at your position. In fact, he actually upgraded him when he brought him back to be a senior offensive assistant rather than just a receivers coach. So I think that overall, this is definitely someone who can help their passing game. As you can see, the Houston Gamblers' passing attack was the worst in the league. They had the lowest amount of yards per game at only 142.8. So hopefully he can help that get better. But overall, I think that this was a weak head coach hire compared to the other ones. I think all the other ones were legit solid candidates. But Johnson, I don't want to be that much of a hater, but I think this is the weakest hire of them all. Though I do think that there is a solid chance that he can make that offense better, especially considering the fact that they lost so many defensive players, whether that be to the NFL, to the XFL, or all those stuff. This team's going to have to rely a lot more on their offense, and getting an offensive-minded head coach is definitely a very solid thing to have happen. Now, I wish the best of luck to Kevin Sumlin at Maryland, as he is the first head coach to actually go for another job somewhere else. And I wish him best of luck. And naturally, I hope that Johnson can make this Gamblers team better and not, choke a lead in almost every single game of the season. But we'll see. Overall, this has been ZomFox. If you enjoy this content or want to be notified as soon as I upload any videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, have a great night.